Can you hear me now? Well, first of all, thank you so very much to everyone for joining us this evening. Thursday, it's beautiful weather outside. You could have stayed home, spent good time with your loved ones, but you chose to be here today, so thank you very much. Well, after this terrible incident happened to me, how and why did not hate the person who tried to kill me? Well, I was shocked. I was extremely shocked, and I could not believe that somebody would try to kill me in my dream country. I was in the Air Force, and I had a very, a good career. And I left my Air Force career to study computer science in America, to pursue my American dream. And now, I'm fighting to survive, fighting to stay alive in my dream country. It was beyond fathomable. I could not just process. But I realized that it already happened. I cannot take it back. And I deeply thought about what my parents taught me, what my faith taught me. And it was not easy not to hate the person who tried to end your life. It was not easy not to get angry and stay sad, depressed, and with thoughts full of revenge. It would be the right thing to do. But I thought about my upbringing and the teachings, and I remembered that what my mom taught me at a very young age, that if you're ever angry, if anyone hurt you, the first thing you should do is put a zipper on your mouth. Means control your tongue and take time before you respond. And if you take time, most likely you will respond wisely. And also it would give a chance to the other person to ponder, wow, I was so nasty, I was so mean, I hurt this person, but he did not respond, he did not retaliate anger, hate with hate. It de-escalated the situation. So I thought about that. And also I thought about my mom's teaching that if you ever struggle to forgive the person who hurt you, leave it up to God and or to the justice system, but you move on. Do not think about taking revenge. Do not think about hurting the person, hating the person back. You move on, leave it aside. But it was not easy. I thought again and again, and I took time. And that helped me, taking the time, thought about all the teachings, thought about what my prophet did when he and his followers were being persecuted for years. Did he ever retaliate? Did he ever take revenge? The answer is no. So as his follower, I tried my best to stay calm and not angry, took time. And in course of time, I realized that I was able to forgive my attacker and move on, focus on rebuilding on my life, and it helped. It helped to rebuild, move forward, and in course of time, I was able to find the highest form of forgiveness, which took part 9 years later, which we'll definitely talk a little later. But it was not easy, but taking the time and thinking about all the good things I learned in my childhood, it really helped me to process and forgive my attacker.
So, in other words, your faith, upbringing, and when you're referring to the Prophet, it's Prophet Muhammad, the messenger of Islam. So, what prompted you to start this journey? How did this idea come about to go and interview all those people who went through tragedy and, ask them all those questions? What prompted all this? How did it start? How did the idea start?
Well, I know what it feels like to wake up each day with the wounds of hate. And as you mentioned that, I still carry more than 3 dozen shotgun pellets on my face, and I lost vision in one eye. So every morning when I wake up, I remember that I don't see anything on my right side. And unfortunately, there are far too many who feel the same way. Seeing the rise of extremism, hate-fueled violence against Asian Americans, blacks, Jewish, Muslims, drives people to hate someone simply who they are. And also, where does the visceral hate comes from?
What fuels it? Yeah.
What fuels it? And also, how do people find purpose, even peace, through pain? Powerful. Stories have the power to humanize each other. Stories have the power to build bridges among people and community, debunk myths and stereotypes, prevent intolerance, ignorance, fear, and violence. And during COVID, when we saw that tremendous, rise of all sorts of violence, and for friends, we sat together, of course, virtually, 6 feet distance. So we sat virtually and we discussed that what can we do at a moment when we are, stuck in our house, but everything is going in the wrong direction. So that's where this conversation started. And Mark Faze is a filmmaker. The other person, Mark Wright, is a journalist who is a news anchor for King 5 in Seattle. And I have this experience. So we sat together and we embarked on a journey to understand more about hate, intolerance, and also the depth of forgiveness. And that's where we started the journey. And we traveled 17,000 miles across North America, from Vancouver to Toronto, from Seattle to New York to Florida. And it was a pretty heck of a journey. Kinds of situation you saw in the documentary that while we were filming, we are in the midst of mass shooting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we started, and it took almost 2.5 years to finish the project, but I'm glad that we were able to finish it.
Are you thinking about the work?
Well, after I was shot, I grabbed the phone, but I couldn't dial 911. I was shaking so badly, but I was not ready to die that day. So I ran to the barbershop next door with the phone in my hand. And as soon as I ran into the store, they saw me and they tried to run away through the emergency exit door. Later on, they told me that they thought the attacker was running after me as well. That's why they tried to escape to the exit door. And that time I saw myself, I caught myself in the mirror, and I couldn't believe that was my face. I felt like a scene in a horror movie. And when I caught one of them to call 911, he did. I came to the parking lot and I was running from one side to the other looking for ambulance. And that shows that demonstrates the tremendous desire of staying alive, of living, enjoying this world. Who wants to die? No one. With that strong desire, I came on the parking lot, running from one side to the other, looking for ambulance. And I was lucky. Within a few minutes, ambulance arrived. And on my way to the hospital, when I felt that my eyes were closing, I could not think clearly. And at that time, images of my siblings, my parents, all my loved ones appearing before my eyes one after the other, I knew that my time was up. And that's why I was seeing their face for the last time, and I'll be gone from this world. At that moment, I made a promise to God, that God, if you give me a chance to live, I would help others. So in course of time, when I was in the process of rebuilding my life, went back to school, worked at restaurants as a waiter, which I never did in my entire life. It was new to me, working in restaurants, learning about American food, ingredients. It was going back to school again. But human beings are amazing. The God-gifted capacity we have, unless you face situation, you will never, discover the inner strength you have. So, during those few years, rebuilding my life, and then getting into IT, working for big corporations, and then went to Mecca for pilgrimage, I was thinking that I had a promise to God that if He gave me a chance to live, I would help others. What have I done for others? I have done well in my own life. I moved on, rebuilt my life, but what have I did? On preventing and disrupting hate-filled violence through empathy and storytelling. And I also go to places and give talks, schools, universities, corporations, sharing my story. As I said, that
There are a couple of microphones on each side for audience questions. Question and wait for the audience if they have any more questions. Were there any other notable stories that we didn't see today?
backstage stories that, I will tell a couple of them. Well, you saw that we used drone in this documentary.